Welcome to the news. The South Florida Tri-Rail P605 and P634 commuter trains continued its week-long slump, spotty, late-running service for hundreds of passengers depending on the early morning and late afternoon rush hour trains to get where they need to be on time. Today's 50-minute delay was due to track obstructions, the details of which remain a mystery. This week's service was reminiscent of the South Florida line back in the bad old days before a multi-million-dollar double-track renovation program transformed it from a 90-mile single rail track system ineptly managed 350 miles away in Jacksonville to what it's been all this week, a 90-mile double rail track system bungled locally in Pompano Beach. Tri-Rail Chief Operating Officer Jack Stevens said, quote, "We certainly have had our fair share of track obstructions, signal failures, mechanical breakdowns, conflicting right-of-way rail traffic, and other gremlins of late. And we apologize for any inconvenience it has caused the common weal of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties. We ask you to bear with us during this very difficult period, and we thank you for your patience," unquote. The canned statement and the hollow apology were of little value, however, for the hundreds of waylaid rush hour passengers who depend on the P605 and P634 for punctual access to many of the region's business, medical, cultural, and recreational networks, as well as its 3 international airports with scheduled flights after all. And it's located in the heaviest populated region in the state. One passenger said the other public transportation, energy, and sometimes sanity-conserving options, the limited service I-95 shuttle buses, for example, become more compelling alternatives during times of bad train service. Sometimes van pools are an option, he continued, but that depends on the availability of passengers at a particular location and/or the chemistry between them. Some people, he said, are like Pollyanna and they're like chatty, while others are like gloom and doom and they just don't want to hear it. Some people like happy talk and others are real pessimists and nothing is any good for them. So a van pool can be cool or it can be barely tolerable, and it requires somewhat of a commitment before knowing its full scope. He continued, "It's like a crapshoot. It could be like, what in the world did I get into? Or it could be a real blessing too." However, driving anywhere on the I-95 corridor between West Palm Beach and Miami during the morning or evening rush hour is the worst nightmare, with its road-raging traffic and stifling traffic congestion or accident scenes, and once free interstate highway lanes converted over to electronic tolls, further bleeding the wallets of its users. So until Tri-Rail's P605 and P634 trains get back on schedule, its conductors, like journalists bearing bad news, will have to endure the icy glare of its frustrated ridership, making the day less pleasant and much longer than anything really needs to be. And that's a shame, since both the morning and the late afternoon conductors seem to be decent people. The morning rush hour conductor seems to be a regular guy. He's affable, yet low-keyed, with a slightly heavier medium build, but without a big paunch. He's in his graying late 50s with a goatee under silver-rimmed glasses, and probably bald under the uniform cap he always wears. The utility uniform he wears casually and comfortably for day-long public interaction and PA announcements entrance and exit monitoring and assistance if necessary, and for the various record-keeping responsibilities he's paid to do. It's the Wackenhut security cops who check tickets and warn and or fine the ignorant and or deadbeats who try to ride the train for free. The late afternoon rush hour conductor is similarly low-key to pleasant, alert, Elta-voiced, 5'7", strawberry blonde shirt with unmade, beady blue eyes. She's 30-ish and very conscientious about her job. Beyond that, she still clings to the ability to turn the head of a guy who can see through her tomboy appearance, but overlooking a nascent paunch that still can be vanquished, by the way, beneath the utility uniform and cap she diligently wears. Both conductors effectively announce the train's arrivals and departures to and from each of the 18 stations along the line, neither overdoing it on the train's PA system, unlike some who love the sound of their own voice and make themselves obnoxious in the ears of the captive passengers. If either conductor has a fault, it would be the gal who has a want-to of holding up the train and its hundreds of passengers for a couple of eternal lasting minutes for the sake of the occasional straggler or two trying to get on board the train at the Broward Boulevard station, the place where the 6:34 train waits when it's running ahead of schedule. Perhaps the Tri-Rail P605 and P634 trains will break out of their tardy slump, and things will improve next week for the passengers, the crew, and everybody else who depends on its service. After all, that service has certainly improved since the bad days of the single-track line controlled from Jacksonville. Tri-Rail's benefits as a public transportation system cannot be disputed or denied. This is Gordon Zernich with Walking Dead Witness News. Have a better tomorrow, and good night.